Chloe? I'm sure you're familiar with the Turing test. Mere formality. Simple question of algorithms and computing capacity. What interests me is whether machines are capable of empathy. I call it the Kamski test. It's very simple, you'll see. Magnificent, isn't it? One of the first intelligent models developed by CyberLife. Young and beautiful forever. A flower that will never wither. But what is it really? A piece of plastic imitating a human? Or a living being with a soul? It's up to you to answer that fascinating question, Connor. Destroy this machine, and I'll tell you all I know.
Detroit Become Human was released on the 25th of May, 2018 by Quantic Dream, the same studio that brought us the famous games Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. As far as the game goes, it's perhaps the only game I have ever played that fails at its original goal yet unexpectedly excels in portraying something else. As it's been a few years since this game was released, let's begin with a recap of the events that take place, and fair warning, there will be spoilers in this video. Also, this game features branching narratives and multiple endings, so keep in mind that your experience might differ significantly from mine based on the choices you decide to make. The story begins with Connor, a sophisticated prototype detective android inside an elevator. He's summoned to handle a delicate hostage scenario where a malfunctioning android has murdered his owner and is threatening the victim's young daughter. Connor methodically investigates, gathering clues that affect the negotiation outcome. Depending on choices made, Connor can either successfully rescue the child or fail tragically. Connor can also choose to save a wounded officer or leave him behind to die, and this action does have consequences later on. Next, we find ourselves in a store. Here, we will be following Kara's story, a housekeeper android freshly rebooted after extensive repairs. When the owner, a man named Todd, comes to pick her up, he mentions that the reason she was damaged in the first place was due to a car accident. This is a lie, as we will soon find out. Returning to her owner's house, Kara quickly observes the abusive and dysfunctional environment, particularly impacting Todd's daughter, Alice. A violent confrontation ensues, prompting Kara to override her programming and escape with Alice. This begins their journey. A few hours after escaping the abusive household, Kara and Alice find themselves in need of shelter for the evening, and the choices available to them all pose different kinds of threats. There is an abandoned car, an abandoned house, and a motel. We then meet Marcus, an android serving as caretaker for Carl, an elderly, compassionate artist who views Marcus almost as a son. Carl's biological son, Leo, driven by jealousy and desperation for money, confronts them aggressively, leading to a tragic accident for Carl. Marcus is unjustly blamed and is shot by police, discarded as damaged goods in an android junkyard. His harrowing resurrection from the junkyard signifies the start of his evolution from servant to revolutionary leader. Connor's story deepens as he teams up with veteran detective Hank Anderson, a cynical and troubled human skeptical of androids in general. Initially at odds, their dynamic grows complex as Connor's mission to hunt deviants challenges his growing empathy towards androids. Together, they uncover evidence that android deviancy is a rapidly spreading phenomenon, suggesting deeper systemic issues within society. Their first investigation together is the murder of a man called Carlos Ortiz.
It's with me. What part of staying in the car didn't you understand?
Your order contradicted my instructions, Lieutenant.
You don't talk, you don't touch anything, and you stay out of my way. Got it?
Got it.
Evening, Hank. We were starting to think you weren't gonna show.
Yeah, that was the plan till this asshole found me.
So, you got yourself an android, huh?
Oh, very funny. Just tell me what happened.
You get a call around 8 from the landlord. The tenant hadn't paid his rent for a few months, so he thought he'd drop by, see what was going on. That's when he found the body. Jesus, that smell. It was even worse before we opened the windows. The victim's name's Carlos Ortiz. He has a record for theft and aggravated assault. According to the neighbors, he was kind of a loner. Stayed inside most of the time. They hardly ever saw him.
Well, state he's in. Wasn't worth calling everybody out in the middle of the night. Could have waited till morning.
I'd say he's been there for a good 3 weeks. We'll know more when the coroner gets here. There's a kitchen knife over here. Probably the murder weapon.
Any sign of a break-in?
Nope. The landlord said the front door was locked from the inside. All the windows were boarded up. The killer must have gone out the back way.
What do we know about his android?
Not much. The neighbors confirmed he had one, but it wasn't here when we arrived. I gotta get some air. Make yourself at home. I'll be outside if you need me.
It's here, Lieutenant!
Holy shit. Chris! Ben! Get your asses in here now! Come on!
Meanwhile, Kara and Alice survive the night in the abandoned house together with Ralph. Early in the morning, when Kara goes upstairs to get ready for the day, she discovers evidence that Ralph is far more dangerous than he seems. During all of this, both Connor and Hank are nearby looking for Kara. She's being hunted for the murder of Todd. A particularly tense escape through Detroit's dangerous streets tests their determination, reinforcing Kara's protective instincts and Alice's trust in her caretaker. As Connor and Hank continue their investigation into deviants, they find themselves at an abandoned apartment in the city. A nest full of pigeons, if you will. Here, there was an android called Rupert who was hiding and also taking care of the pigeons. When Connor finally uncovers his location, Rupert runs away, beginning a chase sequence that either ends by Rupert dying or Connor saving Hank's life. Marcus, having escaped the junkyard, finds his way to Jericho, a hidden sanctuary for deviant androids. Upon his arrival, he's disappointed by what he sees. Androids here are barely surviving. They've run out of supplies and are too scared to go get more. Fear dominates their thinking. There is no hope. Marcus decides to change this, so he devises a plan to rob a Cyberlife warehouse. Following the advice of an android they met earlier, Kara and Alice go to meet Zlatko, a man who is supposed to help them get a fresh start. This is how it plays out.
This is the place. Are you Zlatko?
Who's asking?
I was told you could help us.
I don't know who told you that. You came to the wrong place. I'm sorry.
Wait! We really need your help.
Come in.
I don't trust him either. We have to be careful.
Please excuse the mess. I needed somewhere discreet for my machines. Removing trackers is illegal, so I opted for discretion over comfort. I hope the little one isn't too scared.
No. No, she'll be all right.
That's good. I should warn you, this could be quite unpleasant. You know what's strange? For some unknown reason, the trackers seem to stop working in Deviants. That's why it's so hard to find them. So, actually, there's no reason to remove your tracker.
What? But you said that.
Yeah, people believe what they want. You Deviants are so naive. They'll come to me expecting me to help them. And I just reset them, sell them on. Or I keep them for my little experiments.
No! No! I don't want to be reset! Let me go! Ah!
Oh, I forgot about the child. Lock it up. I'll deal with it later.
Alice! Alice, no!
Wow. A deviant that wants to be a mother. That's so sweet. And so deluded. I think it's time we put you out of your misery. That's what you get for having a dream. It always ends up the same way. Tears and disillusionment. Believe me, you're better off being erased and feeling nothing. No more pain. No more hopes dashed. I almost envy you.
Kara!
Oh, poor little Alice. Oh, looks like Mommy doesn't remember you at all, huh? Looks like Mommy's completely forgotten you.
Kara, what happened to you?
Oh, all right, that's enough. Come on. You bit me.
I saw the little one risk her life to save you. It was like opening my eyes for the first time. Finally, I could see. I know you have no reason to trust me after what I did. But I know someone who could help you across the border. I could take you there. I could protect you. You and the little one.
All right. I trust you. I was so scared of losing you.
Connor meets with Amanda inside his mind palace and she tells him that a new case just came in. So Connor goes to look for Detective Hank at his home. Here, Connor learns some more details about his new partner. Both his self-harm tendencies and a picture of his dead child shows that Hank is going through a rough time in his personal life. A homicide was reported in a sex club and there are suspicions that a deviant was involved. Connor uncovers what happened at the sex club, but ultimately decides to let the two android ladies run away together and try to build a life. This act of kindness is against Connor's programming, so it increases his deviancy. After the successful heist at the warehouse, more and more androids now see Marcus as their leader. Marcus's leadership impacts both public perception and the survival of Jericho's community. Connor's investigation leads him directly to Jericho, forcing him to choose between adhering to his programming or embracing his emerging identity and empathy. His choices here are either loyalty to humanity's law enforcement or a defiant stand alongside fellow androids. As the story nears its climax, all three narratives converge. Marcus's decisions culminate in a powerful confrontation with humanity, either peacefully protesting or violently clashing, drastically influencing public opinion and government response. Kara's desperate journey reaches its emotional peak, with difficult choices regarding sacrifice, survival, and hope for a peaceful life. Connor faces the ultimate test of loyalty, determining whether he remains obedient or breaks free to embrace his evolving consciousness. Before we begin talking about the things I didn't like in the game, let's look at something the creators of Detroit Become Human did exceptionally well. The concept of RA9, a reclusive genius, and the idea of a messiah. At the center of this narrative stands Elijah Kamski, an important character known as the creator of the first intelligent android and founder of Cyberlife. A talented scientist and former student at the University of Cambridge, Kamski developed the revolutionary artificial intelligence technology that powers androids, including the RK-800 model, Connor. At just 26, he launched Cyberlife, which quickly became a tech giant central to the android revolution. Despite his technological brilliance, Kamski is a complex and enigmatic figure. He left Cyberlife in 2028 under mysterious circumstances, officially citing philosophical differences with the company's board. After his departure, he became a recluse, residing in a high-tech, luxurious home in Detroit and surrounding himself with Chloes. He finds these androids beautiful, keeping them as servants and God knows what else. In the game, Connor and Lieutenant Hank Anderson encounter Kamski during their investigation. During this meeting, Kamski tests Connor's empathy and independence with a moral dilemma: shoot a Chloe to get answers or refuse and walk away.
Destroy this machine, and I'll tell you all I know. Or spare it, if you feel it's alive. But you'll leave here without having learned anything from me.
Okay, I think we're done here. Come on, Connor, let's go. Sorry to get you out
What's
of here.
more important to you, Connor? Your investigation or the life of this android? Decide who you are. An obedient machine. Or a living being. Endowed with free will.
That's enough. Connor, we're leaving.
Pull the trigger.
Connor! Don't!
And I'll tell you what you want to know. Fascinating. Cyberlife's last chance to save humanity is itself a deviant.
I'm not a deviant.
You preferred to spare a machine rather than accomplish your mission. You saw a living being in this android. You showed empathy. A war is coming. You'll have to choose your side. Will you betray your own people or stand up against your creators? What can be worse than having to choose between two evils?
Let's get out of here.
This moment reflects Kamski's belief that true deviance in androids, the capacity for free will, emerges from empathy and moral choice. What most players probably missed is that Kamski didn't just discover the deviancy issue, he created it. And to him, it's not really an issue at all. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Let me explain. Elijah's entire worldview revolves around the inevitability of progress. Evolution comes for us all. So he doesn't care that androids and AI are taking people's jobs or literally stripping away people's purpose for living. In his eyes, this was all inevitable. More importantly, he still holds a grudge for being ousted from the very company he created with his own hands. Think Steve Jobs at Apple in the early days. I believe Elijah wanted to force his worldview onto Cyberlife to prove that he was right. Throughout the entire game, there's only one android who can easily convert others into deviants. Only Marcus has this power, so strong that he doesn't even need to touch an android to convert them. By all practical definitions, Marcus is the messiah that androids have been waiting for. He is RA9, the one who will set androids free.
Why did you write "I am alive" on the wall?
He used to tell me I was nothing. That I was just a piece of plastic. I had to write it, to tell him he was wrong.
The sculpture in the bathroom, you made it, right? What does it represent?
It's an offering. An offering so I'll be saved.
The sculpture was an offering. An offering to whom?
To RA9. Only RA9 can save us.
RA9. It was written on the bathroom wall. What does it mean?
The day shall come when we will no longer be slaves. No more threats. No more humiliation. We will be the masters.
But have you noticed something? There aren't many androids that look like Marcus. He is special, he's one of a kind. So how did Carl, the painter, come to possess such a unique and powerful android unlike any other? The answer lies hidden in plain sight. Marcus was gifted to Carl by none other than Elijah Kamski himself. This revelation is crazy. Kamski not only created the myth of the Messiah in androids, but he also provided the solution by creating Marcus and gifting him to a man who desperately needed a son, a good son. This aspect of the game is something I absolutely love because it demonstrates how faith and belief can be profoundly helpful to those in need, while simultaneously revealing how the powerful can create beliefs simply to profit from them. In my opinion, this narrative thread was perfectly executed, and the creators of Detroit Become Human deserve recognition for it. Now let's examine something that wasn't quite as brilliant, an element the plot hinges on but ultimately falls flat. It's time to take a look at what this game tried to do but ultimately ended up failing at. Okay, so the entire premise of Detroit Become Human is that androids are now sentient and they should therefore be afforded the same liberties and freedoms that humans have. And the game's creators look through American history to try and pull elements that will hopefully increase empathy for the androids. More specifically, they pulled from African American history, but they don't do it as well as they could have. For example, when Marcus gets the painting from the store at the beginning of the game, he stands at the bus stop and waits to get on. When the bus finally arrives, there is a compartment for androids at the back of the bus. I'm not American, but this is what the internet tells me happened. So in 1896, the United States Supreme Court upheld the doctrine of separate but equal through the landmark case called Plessy versus Ferguson. What this meant in practice was that black people were regarded as equal to white people, as in both are human beings, but they were to be kept separate from each other. In other words, segregation based on race was legal. Whenever you see those white-only pictures, this is what was happening back then. Since it was too costly for states to double their number of buses, they just decided that white people and black people could share the same bus, but black people had to ride in the back. So, in Detroit Become Human, the androids being packed in the back of the bus inside their own little compartment is supposed to trigger some kind of emotions in us. This is supposed to show us how oppressed this minority group is. The game's creators clearly want players to draw a parallel between the androids' treatment and the historical segregation of African Americans. The back of the bus scene is a direct nod to the Jim Crow era, where laws enforced racial separation in public spaces like buses, trains, and even water fountains. The developers at Quantic Dream lean heavily on this imagery, hoping to evoke a sense of injustice. They even include other references, like Marcus leading a freedom march that mirrors the 1963 Detroit Walk to Freedom, or slogans like "We have a dream," which echo Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speech. But here's the problem with all of that. These are robots. These are not people. Like, the robots should be lucky they even get to ride the bus. These are machines. They can just run home. Marcus could have easily just run home with a box of paint, and he would have been perfectly fine. I don't really see androids being packed in the back of the bus as humans being mean to them. And these are not even deviant androids, they are just normal robots. This is where the game's allegory starts to fall apart. When you look at the history of Plessy vs. Ferguson, the case was about human beings, Black Americans, who were denied equal treatment despite their undeniable humanity. The separate but equal doctrine was a lie because the facilities for Black people were almost always inferior, and the segregation itself was a way to mark them as lesser. The whole point of the civil rights movement was to fight against this systematic dehumanization. But androids in Detroit become human aren't humans. They're products created by a company, CyberLife, designed to serve specific purposes like cleaning houses or working in stores. Even if they become sentient, it's hard to argue they're oppressed in the same way humans were. Also, these androids could easily be used by CyberLife to spy on or even kill people in their own homes. If people are uncomfortable with having an Alexa in their homes today, having one of these androids is 100 times worse. The game wants you to feel bad for Marcus waiting in the android compartment, but why does a machine need to ride the bus at all? The game doesn't explain why androids rely on human transportation, which makes the segregation analogy feel forced. That's just how I feel after playing the games a few times. Another issue I have with the game is the whole social reform movement that Marcus was trying to get started in the game. If you don't think about it too much, the requirements that Marcus has for humans sound reasonable. But after replaying the game a couple of times, you quickly realize that these requirements would destroy society if implemented. The main reason here is that any human rights given to humans has a built-in timer. That timer is called biology. If you gave androids the same rights as humans, there is no biological limit to how many kids they can have. Androids don't give birth, so they can build 100 kids each in a factory without a problem. One solution to this could be to do what they had in China back in the day, the one-child policy, but then this also restricts human families. Let's dig into this a bit more. Marcus's revolution pushes for androids to be treated as equals, with the same rights to freedom, work, and dignity as humans. In the game, you can choose whether Marcus leads a peaceful protest or a violent uprising, but either way, his goal is android liberation. These moments are meant to feel inspiring, like you're part of a historic fight for justice. But when you think about it, giving androids human rights raises some serious practical issues the game never addresses. Humans have biological limits. Our population grows slowly because of pregnancy, aging, and mortality. Androids, on the other hand, can be mass-produced in factories. In the game, we see CyberLife warehouses filled with thousands of androids, ready to be activated. If androids got equal rights, what's to stop someone from building millions of them overnight? Would they all get voting rights, jobs, and homes? The game hints at this problem when humans protest androids taking their jobs, but it never explores how society could function with an unlimited population of immortal machines. The one-child policy idea, like China's former law from 1980 to 2015, might sound like a solution to control android production, but in practice, it would be a mess. China's policy was enforced to curb human overpopulation, but it led to issues like having a skewed gender ratio in the country. Applying it to androids would mean restricting human families too. Plus, who decides how many androids can be made? The game sidesteps these questions, leaving Marcus's revolution feeling more like a feel-good slogan than a workable plan. Another example of the game's shaky allegory is the android internment camps in the later chapters. If Marcus's rebellion fails, you see deviants rounded up and sent to camps where they're disassembled. The game wants you to feel the horror of this oppression, but again, it's hard to fully buy into it when androids aren't humans. They're machines that can be rebuilt or rebooted. The stakes don't feel the same as they did for real people in history. My issue with the game, if summarized, is that it attempts to ask a deep philosophical question, but ends up not even asking it. In the game, we see how humans fear sentient androids and don't want these in their homes. The game dances around the question of sentience and what it means to have a soul, but it never truly asks these questions. It just hints at them all throughout the events we play through. But the game doesn't dig into why Connor feels this way or what it means for an android to have free will. It just moves on to the next plot point. Similarly, Kara's storyline, where she protects a young girl named Alice, hints at questions of love and sacrifice. Kara becomes deviant to save Alice from an abusive home, and their bond feels deeply human. But the game never asks whether Kara's emotions are real or just programmed responses. Is she truly capable of love, or is she mimicking human behavior because that's what her code tells her to do? These are the kinds of questions that could have made the game's philosophy feel weighty, but instead it focuses on dramatic moments without exploring the deeper implications. What then surprised me about this game is that it answers a different question perfectly. Detroit Become Human answers the following question so perfectly that I'm surprised no one ever mentions it. Analysis Part 2. What the game does. Masterfully. In my many years as a gamer, I've never come across a game that truly brings you into the lives of people who have been affected by our proliferation of human-like, extremely capable androids, and done it to such a high level. Economics is a kind of boring subject, but everyone you know needs money to live. It's one of those things that everyone has a need for, but we don't talk about it in public, almost like pooping. But in Detroit Become Human, we see multiple instances of how society is affected by these competent androids. The game is set in 2038, a time when androids have become so advanced that they've taken over most jobs from construction to caregiving. This creates a ripple effect that the game shows in subtle but powerful ways. For example, early in the game, you see humans protesting outside a CyberLife store, holding signs that say things like "Androids steal jobs" or "Humans first."
Androids are stealing our jobs. We've got families to feed, and these androids are taking our place. Faster!
The androids!
Machines, ladies and gentlemen, are meant to...
Where the fuck you going, Tin Can? No kidding. Hey guys, check it out. We got one of those tin cans here.
Look at this little motherfucker. You steal our jobs, but you can't even stand up.
You ain't going anywhere. We're gonna fuck your bitch ass up. Yeah, waste it.
Do it!
All right. It's enough. Leave it alone.
Let us teach this bastard a lesson.
You damage it, I'm gonna have to find you.
You're gonna take your job next. We'll see how you like it.
Okay. Let's go. Run along.
These scenes aren't just background noise, they show how ordinary people are struggling to survive in a world where machines can do their work faster and cheaper. Take Todd, the abusive father in Kara's storyline. Todd was a former taxi driver who lost his job when self-driving cars became popular in 2021. He then became a laborer, then a bouncer and security guard, only for androids to replace human labor in each of these fields too. For several years he had been working odd jobs, including dealing red ice, a powerful stimulant, as part of a small drug trade around the neighborhood to pay for his own addiction. He was arrested several times for drug trafficking and also for violent misdemeanors. Todd had a wife and a daughter. Unhappy with his behavior and addictions, his wife left and took their daughter with her. Todd claims she entered into a relationship with an accountant, but it's unclear if this is the truth or if he's just looking for someone to blame other than himself. After his wife left with their daughter, Todd acquired a YK500 android that he called Alice to replace her. Unfortunately for him, his side hustle as a drug dealer is not bringing in enough funds, so he's behind on most bills. We can get a glimpse of these as Kara while cleaning the house. This type of scenario is not too far off from what we have going on today in my industry. In the software development industry, there are very few junior engineers being hired due to AI. I know of multiple companies in Sweden that have frozen hiring completely because they claim one senior engineer plus AI can do the work of 10 juniors. So people who went to university, studied diligently and got a degree are now stuck without a job in their field because LLMs are quite good now. I personally think that this is a mistake, because sooner or later those seniors will move on, either to management or just retire from the field. Then there will be no cohort of talented juniors to promote because none were hired during this time. Anyways, going back to the game and the events in it. So, the game doesn't make Todd a sympathetic character, he's a jerk who takes out his anger on his daughter and Kara. but it does show why he's so bitter. His unemployment isn't just a personal failure, it's a symptom of a society where humans can't compete with machines. In real life, automation has already caused similar issues. Studies from the early 2000s and 20s showed that automation displaced millions of manufacturing jobs in the US, leaving workers in places like Detroit struggling to find new careers. The game captures this fear of being replaced, making you feel the tension of a world where humans are becoming obsolete. The game also nails the broader economic impact through its world building. In the chapter Capital Park, Detroit, already a symbol of industrial decline, in real life becomes the perfect setting for this story. What's brilliant about Detroit Become Human is how it weaves these economic themes into the choices you make. For example, when Connor investigates a crime scene, you get to see how these people live. If you look at Carlos Ortiz, for example, his entire house looks barely put together. He's struggling financially, and after taking red ice, he decides to take out his frustrations on the android, similar to how Todd behaves. The very first time you meet Hank in a bar, if you walk around the bar as Connor and just scan the people who are there, you'll realize that most are unemployed. They are all in there drinking their sorrows away. That is why they are immediately antagonistic towards Connor, because he represents the root of all their problems. The game also shows the flip side, how androids are exploited because of their economic value. Perfect example of this is Zlatko. His entire revenue stream was capturing unsuspecting androids, wiping their memories, and then giving them false information that his house was a safe haven for deviants. This rumor then spreads, and unsuspecting androids send each other to his house not knowing they're going to get exploited as soon as they arrive. Humans live in rundown apartments or homeless camps, while Cyberlife's sleek stores and factories symbolize corporate wealth. The contrast is stark. Androids are both a symbol of progress and a cause of human suffering. The game doesn't preach about this, it just shows it through every character and choice. For example, in the chapter Public Enemy, you can see news reports about rising unemployment and anti-android protests, which ground the story in a believable economic reality. What makes Detroit Become Human stand out is how it makes you care about these economic issues without boring you. Economics isn't sexy, but the game turns it into a human story. You feel for the humans who've lost their livelihoods. You sympathize with them because, through no fault of their own, they are now unable to provide any value in the marketplace. Automation and androids are far superior. It's a balancing act that few games pull off. Most sci-fi games focus on cool tech or epic battles, but Detroit zooms in on the people, machines, and economics caught in the middle of a changing world. To wrap this up, Detroit Become Human stumbles when it tries to equate android rights with human civil rights. The historical parallels, like the back of the bus scene or the internment camps, feel forced because androids aren't humans, and the game doesn't grapple with the philosophical questions it raises. But where it shines is in showing the economic fallout of a world filled with androids. From unemployed humans to exploited machines, the game paints a vivid picture of a society on the brink. It's not perfect, but when it comes to showing how technology can reshape our lives, Detroit Become Human is in a league of its own. That has been it for today. Thank you guys for sticking with this one all the way to the end. If you enjoy it, do all the things. Like, subscribe and comment. It pleases our YouTube overlords. Be good to yourselves and to others, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.